So I think one of the interesting things for me is when I happen to see other engineers out socially here in Hayes Valley, Cerebral Valley in San Francisco. I ask them, oh, are you using AI to code? And the answer most of the time is, oh, a little. Sure, if I need help with a query or I need help figuring something out, I use it a little. And that's who I was. That's who I was a year ago. Like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, it's pretty good at this. But about 5 months ago, I started feeding it real work and real challenges, and I was blown away about how efficient and how on point it was. And so that's when I stopped coding. And it's a shame, kind of, because I love coding. I love problem solving. It's just now this is better, and it's so much better, and I'm so much more efficient that it's. I would encourage any engineer who's using AI a little is stop what you're doing and learn how to use it a lot. Learn how to let it do its job for you, and you are sort of the person who's guiding it.
Hi, welcome to your next tech startup. I'm host Isabel Rasmussen. Today I have on guest Matt, who has been the founding engineer at multiple startups and now has been founding his own startups. And we're going to have a conversation with him about how AI is impacting how he's thinking about being a founder. Matt, can
Okay.
you give a little intro?
Thank you for that warm welcome. My name is Matthew O'Mara. I've been in software since the mid 90s, late 90s. I joined OpenTable and was engineer number two back in 1999. It's sort of like having a hit record when you take ownership of a product and bring it to market and grow it from zero valuation to, I think, OpenTable eventually became a $2 billion valuation company. Tremendous early experience and luck. You have to have a bit of luck to stumble upon the right person, the right founder with the right idea. If you've got the chops, then you can lend your skills and help create something. Since then, I've helped start 6 or 7 more startups in the last 25 years. What's nice about software is you can work in any space. You can work in restaurant space and then pivot, and all of a sudden you're in the TV and radio space. It's a nice generic skill that you can apply to many verticals.
There's a lot of engineers on the market right now trying to figure out what's next for them in this world of AI. And so, what advice would you give as a founder and as someone who's been a founding engineer?
I would love to speak to the young engineers or engineers that are young in their career first,
Yeah.
because it's definitely tenuous times and it's hard to know. And I think no one knows the answer. The truth is AI can code better than all the other coders I've ever worked with. It's better, it's faster, and it's only going to keep getting better. But there's always, at least for the next 4 or 5 years, there's going to be a role for someone who understands the environment and what's happening in the code. And so it's still a very important skill to know how to code front, back. Number one, keep learning how to code. And number two, learn how to partner with AI, learn how to make AI sort of your champion and let it teach you everything you don't know. If you don't know DevOps, it's fine. Just partner with AI and ask it to help you figure it out. Or if you're not very good at design, it's okay. Ask AI. So AI kind of becomes this complementary thing that when you successfully merge with it and use it, you'll become stronger, faster, and more general purpose in your skill set. And that's what will make you valuable to companies going forward. If you're the founder and you're on the business end of the equation, your teams, if you're an existing founder, your teams are probably a little too large right now, to be honest. Like, if it's worth it to you for you to go and talk to your engineering department and find out how many of your engineers are still manually coding. Because if they're manually coding, they're doing it wrong. I hate to say that because I've been an engineer for 40 some years,
And I
but
hate
it's just the truth.
it because how
Yeah.
am I going to recruit engineers? Um,
It's. I mean, there's still roles. I just think I think organizations are going to get smaller. I think they're going to get a lot more efficient, and so I think it's going to be the flattening of organizations. And so, with that, it's sort of like the go west young person is learn how to be an entrepreneur, learn how to embrace like the product and the QA and the business end of things, because that's where opportunity will be. It like, but this isn't just happening in software, right? This is happening in legal. This is happening in medical. This is happening like being a knowledge-based worker is going to change drastically across the board because we've got this new thing, this AI engine that can simply do it, better, and it won't be forgetful, and it won't have lapses, and so it's. But I Yeah, it's hard to imagine like what things will be like in 20 years, but in
Yeah.
the near future, it's very important to have smart people, in chair, helping guide and helping realize whatever the business goal is that day, that week.
Yeah, and one thing I do wanna call out, just because I've talked to so many engineers who have tried to found something and it didn't work out, is
Yeah,
that product market fit, like, AI is
yeah,
not solving product market fit for you.
that's not all product market fit at all.
Yeah, so there is that aspect of, if engineers are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, that
Mhm.
co-founding is oftentimes the right way to go about it, and partnering with someone who has a better understanding in the product market fit, has a different skill set. Like I think about the sales brain and the engineering brain are typically two
Mm,
very different brains,
they
and
are.
how to, as an engineering brain to be able to partner, like I'm more of a sales brain person,
Mm,
and I have different ideas, but there's no way in hell I could ever like do what you're doing because I can't read code and figure out
yep.
so I would need to partner with a software engineer to be able to, put something
Yes.
together. But I think that's what engineers need to think about, like how they can learn AI, can utilize
Mm,
it to do the things that they used to do, but also how to collaborate in new ways with, potential other co-founders.
yes, I think about that exactly the same way. In the 1990s, you had the emergence of client server programming, right? So now you're writing code on the front end and you're talking to a back end, which is where the data lives. And people who were coding back then remember, like, oh, you weren't a front end coder or back end coder. You weren't a specialist. You just coded. And if you coded, you were doing UI and you were doing database access. And, pretty quickly people realized most engineers are terrible at UI. And also most engineers don't belong in the database because it's very challenging. And if you do it poorly, you'll bring the whole site down. And so you had this ever since the mid 1990s up until 2020, you had this emergence of the stack, and then you had specialists, so you had people who do design but not really UX. They just do aesthetic design. Then you have UX. Then you have people who code it. Then you have people who do the back end for the front end. Then you have people who do the API but not front end. And so you have like 12 layers in the employment stack right now for
Yeah.
engineers. I think that's going to collapse down to three.
Mhm.
It'll go back to where it was in the 1990s, which is I
Okay.
code. And if you
Right.
code, well, then if someone hands you a design, you're not the one building it. The AI will build it. You're just overseeing it. And if you tend to be so you might have one person who specializes on the front end who codes, but really AI is coding, and you might have one on the back end. And so it's sort of like designer, front end, back end. And you'll just need three people. You won't need 25 people. You'll need three, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
No, it makes
But then
perfect.
people need vacation, so you want some redundancy.
Yeah, I think it's just really interesting to hear your perspective because you've been in the space for a lot longer than probably most people who are gonna listen to this. And not only have you been in the space, you've maintained staying in the startup space, and,
Mm,
you've been at startups that succeeded. I think you're coming from such a unique perspective, and to be able to kind of see what's happening and be utilizing it in how you work today. And I think that perspective is just one that a lot of younger people and older engineers are going to, I
yeah.
hope, listen to and kind of rethink things.
Thank you. Part of the joy of coding is that you're problem solving. And so learning how to code, learning how to solve a problem, coding something, and then watching it run on your screen or on your phone is fantastic. It's really satisfying. Now that you probably shouldn't be coding anymore, you should probably be asking AI to code, but you're still problem solving. It's just you have a much better tool than you typing. Like, why would you type when this thing can just crank it out for you? So, there's still a lot of pleasure and
On,
there's still a lot of thought
yeah.
in the role. It's still a thinking role. It's just better tools.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.